Welcome back to it, guys. The Now Morning Show continues, and we are heading to the Living Library. Poets and Prophets, Chronicles from the Living Books of Calypso, Part 1. It's happening Saturday, the 28th of October at Nalis in Sangre Grande. And joining me to tell me more about it is Miss Sherilyn Kwamina Batiste, Librarian 4 for the North Region, as well as Anko Tota. I immediately remember the pronunciation. Founder of the Gender Institute, and as he says, organic historian. I like that term. But welcome and good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning. Thank you
How
for
are you
having
guys
us.
doing?
Good morning.
We
We
had
are well.
to.
We are excited about this fantastic program that we are rolling out in celebration of Calypso History Month as well as Global Media and Information Literacy 2023. So we are
I
happy that
imagine
you have
you are
invited us in.
excited because projects like these allow us to see, or as you say, a living library. So we get to experience, of course, what we know Analysis for, plus the people and the richness that we have walking amongst us. It's a beautiful
That's right.
project. And I wanted to understand the genesis of it. Apart from Calypso History Month, you said there were other facets to it. And I want to get a little insight into that one, Mrs. Kwamina Batiste. Tell me a little bit as to how this
Okay.
started.
Okay, so I'll kick off and then Mr. Matuta. What happens is that Nalis has always wanted to celebrate the living encyclopedias, the books that we have walking among us. And when we approached Mr. Matuta is one of our long-standing stakeholders. He had the same very important, very good idea that we can actually celebrate the lives of these icons, these encyclopedias um, during the month of Calypso history. Also, we had our programming set for global media and information literacy, and that is where we connect persons with information in a more creative way. And that is the genesis, basically, that Nalis continues to connect people with information. This time, it's living icons. And this is part one that will continue throughout the coming year with different topics.
Beautiful. Mr. Matuta, tell me a little bit as to the other encyclopedias that will be made available to us. I understand there is
If
quite
I
the
may,
cast.
I would give you the cast, but just to sort of give a perspective on how the concept came about. The initial concept I first heard about in an article I read on Thailand, in which the Thai government, in an attempt to preserve its cultural integrity and heritage, introduced something called a human life. And the human library was an attempt to bridge what they call the generational divide so that
Yes.
young people could, communicate and interact with elders who will transmit information to them. And so this idea became a reality in Thailand. Later research suggested that it was first conceived by someone called Ronnie Abogel in Copenhagen, I think Denmark.
Okay.
And his reason for establishing what is called a human library and our living library is an adaptation of that human library. We adapted to the realities of our own society. So he made two statements, which I think is important to understand the concept. And the statement was, how are we to understand each other if we do not have the opportunity to talk to each other? And that is a very important thing to understand in a world in which artificial intelligence, digital information has created divides in which people are not communicating directly with each other,
Right.
in which elders are not being listened to, in which this gap is widening. We are not speaking to each other in any objective and sustained manner. Our biases, our differences, and so whether they're religious or political, are sometimes the prism through which we communicate with each other. And that is not good for our society, right? As we can see, we have a lot of problems. And the only way those problems can be solved is by us communicating with each other. The other point that he made um, is that not only must we speak to each other, but we must create the opportunities to talk to each other. And so this idea of the living library is an opportunity to speak to each other, right? in other words, the community speaking to itself, which is another fundamental aspect, of the living life. So here we are with iconic figures, Brother Valentino, who has been one of the most consistent and prominent Calypsonians. And Calypso is part of our oral history. It is how we communicated to each other in significant times in our history. And also, we have Brother Mudada, another very, very prominent practitioner of the art. We have Zeno Constance, who is not only a playwright but a historian, Calypso historian, who has written books on Valentino and others. And we have the mighty Gabi, one of the most prolific and consistent Calypsonians in the Caribbean in terms of social and political commentary. And then we have also Professor Ron Reed, who now teaches at Berklee College of Music in Boston. But he was a pioneering figure in the music scene in Trinidad and Tobago before he went to study abroad.
Absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, so the basis of this session is to have these icons, these living books as we see them, tell their stories to another generation, and in the process, transmit information that we think is relevant to the advancement of our society.
That's right. The difference with having a human library, a living library, is that whilst we share facts, they share it passionately and haven't had intimate relationship with whatever information that they are sharing. And one of the things I want you to know is that these persons, these living libraries, these human books that we are talking about will be at the different libraries, not just one. So we have Sandy Grandi, Brother Valentino, the gentleman of Calypso as I call him. We have Brother Mudada, who's going to be at Port of Spain. And then we have Brother Zeno, who will be Constance at our Swirl Library, our San Fernando West Indian Reference Library. What is interesting about this hybrid program is that we are going to have each one of them at the libraries, as well as the two gentlemen, Professor Reed and Gabi, online via Zoom, and it's going to be zoomed across all of NALI's libraries. As well as you all will have the link so you can log in, you can join us from the comfort of your home or anywhere in the world that you are, as well as in libraries, the brick and mortar libraries. It's hybrid, and it's going to be a fantastic conversation, passionate, and there will be so much connectivity. It's going to be insightful.
It sounds exactly like that, insightful, passionate, and I particularly like the hybrid feature because there are so many stories that need to be told. We are doing it across the country, and hopefully we'll continue to do this for some time. For now, though, we are heading to San Grande on the 28th, that's Saturday. What time do we need to be there, Miss Batiste?
Okay, so we are at Sandy Grande, Port of Spain, and Swirl, which is San Fernando West Indian Library, from 10:30 a.m. You are expected to come in at 10 because I'm sure we are going to be packed out. So come and get your front seat so that you can actually engage with the living library.
And on that note, let me say thank you very much for joining us this morning, for continuing this initiative, and for making certain that we tell our stories. Mrs. Corman Batiste joining us this morning, Cheryl Corman Batiste, that is Librarian 4 for the North Region, and the founder of the Gender Institute, and of course, as he says, organic historian, Mr. Anko Mutota, joining us here on the Now Morning Show. Thank you, lady and gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Mr. Ainka.
A pleasure. Guys, there's so much to add to your calendar and even more to stick around for on the Now Morning Show. We'll be back.